Hey guys, what's up? It's Fern. Thank you so much for joining me for another planty video. So today I thought I would go through my largest plants. So I've picked out 5 plants in my collection that are relatively large, and I am just going to talk a little bit about each of them. But before we get into the plants, I'm going to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor. This video is kindly sponsored by Skillshare, which is an online learning community with thousands of different classes where you can explore new skills or nurture existing hobbies. As some of you know, I've been wanting to dip my toes into outdoor gardening this year, and I had no idea where to start. I came across the perfect video on Skillshare. It's called Gardening 101, a guide for growing and caring for plants, and it is by Geraldine Lavin, who is an herbalist and farmer, which is just so cool. And I learned a lot of helpful tips to get me going, so I'm feeling a lot more confident with that now. There's so many different types of courses on Skillshare. They truly cater to everyone. So if you're looking to explore a new creative or practical niche, definitely check out Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium, and after that it's only around $10 a month. Thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. It really helps out my channel. Okay, so the first plant that I'm going to be talking about today is none other than my large Monstera Deliciosa. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen this plant before. It is one of my favorites out of my collection just because of how large and mature it is. I have actually had it for coming up to a year now, which is crazy. Like, the time has just flown by so fast. I was lucky enough to find it on a Facebook marketplace ad. I just randomly came across it and I had to take a double take. I was like scrolling and I was like, what? Like, what? Just because it was so mature, it had so many fenestrations. I'll give you a close-up of the leaves, but yeah, you don't often see them for sale this mature. So I think it's put out about 4 leaves since I've had it. Maybe this newest one is its 5th actually. I think that it's actually put out 5 in my care. So I will show you the newest one. It's way behind there. You can see it. It's just unfurling right now. Oh, this plant is so incredible, you guys. You can just like see like the size of me standing next to it, and this isn't even the largest leaf. It's just so impressive. Now, to answer some questions about it, this plant lives in a, well, not exactly in, but near a south-facing window. I would say it's pulled back about 5 feet from the window, so it does get some pretty decent light. However, as many of you know, where I live on Vancouver Island, it's very dark throughout the winter, so it hasn't been getting like crazy light, and it's still put out, this was a winter leaf that it put out like maybe a month or 2 ago. Well, probably like 2 months ago it put this leaf out, and then as we're getting closer to spring, it gave me that new one back there. Now, when I got this plant, it was unfortunately infested with scale, which I did not know at the time when I bought it. I brought it home and that's when I like took a good look at it and found that it was covered in scale, and I had never dealt with scale before. So that was very stressful. I had to take it out onto my deck and literally scrub all of the stems and all of the backs of the leaves with a cotton ball dipped in rubbing alcohol. So I literally scrubbed this thing down completely. I took it out of its pot, hosed its roots down, and then completely repotted it. And after that, it shot out a new leaf, and it was just so happy. And it did have scale, like the odd scale, for the next like couple of months, but I don't really see anything anymore, so I think it's fine. So it definitely wasn't like the worst pest I've ever dealt with, but it was a bit of a pain in the butt. And if you guys are wondering how much I paid for this plant, I paid $90 Canadian, and I thought that was an okay deal just considering how large and established it was. Although the fact that it had scale, it probably shouldn't have been $90, but who knows. If I like to think that they didn't know it had scale, because that would be pretty rude to sell it if they did know, but yeah, whatever. That's neither here nor there. So I'm hoping that this plant is gonna get a lot of light over the summer and give me some more growth with a lot of fenestrations and really big leaves. I am thinking I should stake it or get it on a pole or just something that it can climb. You can see, it's really interesting actually, the way that it's vining right now, it's basically already climbing straight up. If you can see. I've gotten comments saying like, how is your Monstera standing so straight up? And I honestly don't know. Like, I guess it's just going up towards the light, but this is literally pretty much straight up, that middle stem. So that's really cool. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that guy. If you guys have any questions about any of the plants I'm going to talk about, just leave a comment down below. Okay guys, next I'm going to be talking about my beautiful Crimson Queen Hoya. Look at her, she's so big, she's grown so much. So this plant I've had for probably about between a year and a half to 2 years. It was probably only trailing like just past the pot when I first got it, and now as you can see it is trailing quite a lot, and she's very full and luscious. I love her so much. This is honestly one of my favorite Hoya. She often puts out all white leaves, which are so beautiful. In my experience, they won't last forever. The plant will let go of them eventually, but they do stay alive for a surprisingly long time. Like I'll get like a year out of them. So she is very, very easy care. I honestly don't do anything special. And because she's in this plastic pot, she only needs to be watered like every 1 to 2 months, like honestly hardly ever. These are relatively easy to get your hands on, at least where I live, but I just think that they are so, oh my gosh, I literally just poked myself in the eye with it. They are so, I just think that the variegation is so pretty. Like look at her. I know that there's also the Crimson Princess, which I don't have. I would like to add it to my collection though, so if I see one, maybe I'll pick it up. But the way to tell the difference between the Crimson Queen and the Crimson Princess is that the Crimson Queen, the queen wears the crown. So the crown of white is on the outside, and then I've heard people say the princess wears the gown. So on the Hoya Crimson Princess, the white is on the inside and the outside is green. So since this is the only one I have, I just remember the queen wears the crown. I do occasionally fertilize her both in the soil with my regular fertilizer and with my Orchid Mist that I talked about in my fertilizer video. And she's honestly been super happy with that. She lives in a south-facing window, and she's done fine all throughout the winter. She's even like above my baseboard heater, so the humidity is like definitely low where she's sitting, and she still just has not complained at all. Like I said, I did lose some of those all white leaves over the winter, but honestly that's fine with me. I believe I paid around $60 for this pot of Hoya Crimson Queen. Like I said, it was quite full and trailing about down to there when I got it, and I just found it at a local plant shop, Little Tree. Yeah, I just highly recommend this Hoya. I would love for it to bloom for me one day. Can you guys imagine? Oh my gosh, that would be so cool. One day she will. Okay, so next we are moving on to another plant that I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with. It is my Monstera Adensoni. Now I have had this plant for a couple of years now. I bought it, oh my goodness, I'll have to insert a photo of when I first bought it because I came across this photo the other day, and it's just so crazy to see your plants like years ago when they were smaller. But I'll insert that photo. I got it a couple of years ago and it was quite pricey. I definitely overpaid for this plant. I got it from like a boutique plant shop that doesn't even exist anymore. But I paid $70 for the pot of this thing, and I remember just being like so stoked. I didn't even care that it was that expensive. So I let it grow as a trailing plant for the majority of the time that I had it, and then just this past fall/winter, maybe around like November, I think, I put it on this moss pole that you can see it on right now. So it is now growing upwards. I have a whole video where I made this pole and wound this plant around the pole. So I guess this is going to be like a little bit of an update on that. So let me just tell you, I love the way this plant looks on this pole. Even if it didn't latch on and like start growing up and giving me bigger leaves, I wouldn't even really mind because I just think that it looks so cool just vertical like this. I think it's such a beautiful way to grow them. However, luckily this plant has latched onto the pole. It started growing its aerial roots into it on multiple areas, and it's just so cool. I'll insert some footage of that, but it's just, yeah, it's just like so neat to witness. And I'm trying to be better about misting this moss pole. I recently got that electric mister thing, so I have been trying to keep it somewhat moist with that. But yeah, this plant is just such a prolific grower. I have mentioned in the past that this thing can be a little bit finicky with watering. It doesn't like to be dry for too long, is what I found. So it needs really like consistent watering. So as soon as I find that it's starting to dry, I will go ahead and give it a good water. But other than that, it's a really easy plant, and yeah, I'm just so excited to see it grow on this pole even more. There's still quite a bit of room like at the top, you can see, for it to grow up there. But yeah, it's just so cool. I love it so much, and I've taken so many propagations from this plant. It's so easy to propagate, and it just grows and grows. So I highly recommend Monstera Adensoni if you don't happen to have one yet. This is the theme with Monsteras. My Monsteras tend to grow quickly, except for my variegated ones. Okay, next we're going to be talking about my biggest plant that I own, and that is my Marble Queen Pothos. I cannot take her down from there, you guys. She is just so large. So yes, this is my Marble Queen Pothos. She lives on top of my cupboard above my fridge there, and she trails down to the floor. I just gave her a trim not long ago, and she's already touching the floor again. My floor is dirty, just ignore that, I am moving. So yes, I get a lot of questions about this plant just because of how large she is, and she has some leaves that are very large as well. Like, look at this one too, it's so massive. And her variegation is just so beautiful. Like, some of these leaves are like Snow Queen status. This is just so white, it's crazy. So I have had her for about 8 years now, and she has actually been in the pot that she's in for probably like 6 years. And I get so many questions of people asking like what I do that's special, like what did I do to make her grow so large? And honestly, like, I don't do anything special for her. I think I've just had her for so long, she's just so established. Like, look at how thick this is, you guys. Like, this is crazy. This is like so woody. But yeah, I honestly neglect her a lot, and especially since she's up so high, she like dries out so much. Like, I only water her every, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks probably. And I just fertilize her the same as the rest of my plants, and that's pretty much it. She's just very established, and that's why she's so large. And like I said, I trim her all the time. I've taken so many cuttings from her, so yeah, but I just love her so much. Like, is this not just like a statement plant? Like, oh my gosh, I almost tripped. Are you kidding me? That's so cool. She is so amazing. But yeah, I'm very emotionally attached to her just because I've had her for so long. So I guess she like technically like started my houseplant journey, and yeah, she's moved with me like 4 times, gonna be another time soon. But yeah, I definitely will be keeping her forever, or for as long as she lives. Is there like an age? Like, what is the life expectancy? Like, is there a limit, or do plants just live forever? I honestly don't know. I'm really curious about that though. If anyone knows, please leave a comment. But yes, I love her so much, and I don't think I mentioned, but her name is Greta, so yeah, good woman. Okay guys, the last plant that I'm going to be talking about today is my Fern. This is her. She is absolutely massive. I had shown her in a past video, and I'd said that I didn't know what type of fern it was because it was passed on to me, gifted to me by a friend. And a lot of people commented saying that it is a Boston fern, so I think we'll just go with that for now. But yes, like I said, this was gifted to me, and this was, I think, last summer, so coming up to a year now. But yeah, it was definitely a large and established plant when I received it, so I cannot take like full credit for it. But it's so funny because I've had Boston ferns in the past, and just like ferns in general, like these like fluffy, I don't know what the word is for these type of fronds, but like these type of ferns, and they're so difficult. They had always died on me, and I'm not sure if it's just like, I'm assuming it's because this one is so large and established already that it's just like pretty chill and easy going. I've definitely let this dry out more than I should have on numerous occasions, but it's always just like bounced back and been really forgiving, so I feel like I'm just lucky with that, I guess. But yeah, this is definitely like another statement plant. I used to have it hanging up in a corner from the ceiling, so I might do that again when I move because it just looks like really cool. It's in a plastic pot here, which is definitely a necessity because, like I said, this thing is very thirsty. I pretty much try to keep the soil moist at all times. But yeah, it's definitely such a cool plant. It gives like really jungle vibes to your home, and I'm really glad that I got this specific one because I feel like I just like wouldn't be able to keep a small one that I have to grow myself alive. So Oh, and this sits, I don't know if you could tell, but it's kind of like sheltered by my large Monstera Deliciosa. And it's about pretty much the same, about like 4 or 5 feet away from a south-facing window, but it is quite sheltered, so it's not getting like a lot of direct sun. But honestly, this thing is like pretty happy with like whatever like low to medium lighting I give it. And yeah, it's definitely a very messy plant to have, because there's definitely dry bits right there. There'll be like fronds that dry up and they will just fall off and be all over your floor. Like oh my gosh, I'll have to show you my floor. Like they literally just fall off onto the floor, and you have to vacuum even when you just like go near this thing. So look at that. Alright, so that is going to be it. That is 5 of the largest plants in my collection. If you like this type of video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more planty content. And again, thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. It really keeps my channel going. And that's it. Make sure you leave me a comment down below too. I would love to chat with you. I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye!